Okay, so I'm talking to Matthew Dickerson, who is the new Mayor of Dubbo Regional Council. Congratulations on the role, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks, Shreya. I'm not sure if it's the new mayor or it's the old recycled mayor. It's a bit interesting coming back into the role after being away for a few years.
What made you put your hand up again?
I was quite happy to move on with my life when the amalgamation occurred. I wasn't happy about the amalgamation, but it happened. So you move on with your life, and I didn't think I'd ever be back involved with council. But it's one of those things that when you sit on the outside and look in and you're not happy with what's happening, you can either sit back and complain and have a coffee or a beer with people and say, harumph, harumph, isn't this terrible? Or you can say, I think I can be part of the solution to make it better. And I put myself in that second category that I should, if I'm going to sit back and complain, I should put my hand up and try and be part of the solution going forward. And that was the driver behind my decision. I think I could, or I thought back in those days that I could help be a part of this going forward and make it a better council. So I put my hand up and lucky enough to be elected and lucky enough to be elected as mayor.
So what would you say are going to be your areas of focus for the first term?
The absolute number one priority for myself and certainly for this group of councillors is to restore community trust. There's no doubt about it that has been eroded over the last few years. People don't have the same sort of level of trust in council. They don't believe that council is there doing the right things. And that's not a reflection on the council staff. That's a poor reflection on the previous leadership that we had at council. That's now gone. I've never seen a council before that's only had one person re-elected from the previous council. That's a real sign from the community that they weren't happy with what was happening with the last council. So that's the number one priority. Before we can achieve anything else, this group of councillors needs to establish that trust, that confidence. And that takes time. You can lose trust in an instant, but to get trust back can take some time. So before we dream about any big changes that we can make, we've got to get that community trust back. And we're going to do that by being open, by communicating, by being transparent, and really making sure that the community knows what we're doing, why we're doing it. And they mightn't agree with every decision. It would be impossible to have a community and a democracy agree with every decision, but at least they need to understand why we're making those decisions.
And as you mentioned, with a bunch of fresh faces around the table now, in terms of major council projects, what can we expect to see happening in 2022?
Yeah, there's a few things there that are important. There's one project that's almost at its completion level. There's the Boundary Road extension, which will extend the traffic to go up to Boundary Road and across to Sheraton Road to feed into the two schools there. At the moment, that Sheraton Road area is a very busy area, so that's certainly one project that's getting close to coming to fruition. That's around the end of April. We'll see that come through. Probably the other thing, which is not really that exciting or sexy, but it's our budget. We've lost $20 million over the last 3 years. So we've really got to examine our budget very closely and make sure we get our budget not just back on track to be a break-even budget, which is what you'd normally aim for in council, but we need to start getting some money feeding back in to fill that hole that we've had over the last 3 years, but also start to put some money aside for the infrastructure backlog we've got. Now, again, you're not getting to cut a ribbon on any of that, but for the long-term future of council, making sure our finances are in place is incredibly important. And again, we can't do anything going forward if we don't have our finances in place. So it's some of those things. It's just about fixing up some of the basics before we can start looking at those big picture items.
Sure. And as we know, of course, we are dealing with another COVID outbreak at the moment. The pandemic is still ticking along. What do you think is going to be important for the region coming out of that?
The critical part with the pandemic is really being agile, being able to change what you're doing as an organisation, whether it be council, whether it be a business, whether it be individuals in their households, being able to be agile. Councils sometimes aren't known for their agility. Sometimes they're very stuck in their way of doing things. So we need to make sure that we can respond quickly as changes occur. And we've got a number of business units of council as well as the standard roads, rates and rubbish you might normally expect with council. And for all of those different parts of it, all those moving parts need to be able to respond quickly as changes occur. If we can do that, I think we'll put ourselves in a much better place.
Excellent. That about covers my questions, Matthew, but is there anything else you wanted to add that I didn't put in there?
Nothing specifically, but maybe just it is pretty exciting to be involved with, out of 10 councillors, 8 have had zero council experience before. I've had a break away from council, but I had 12 years experience before in council and 5 as mayor, so hopefully some of that experience will help. And we've got 1 returning councillor from the last council. So there is that real enthusiasm, that real excitement. And I think the community's pretty keen to see what this new group of fresh faces can do. And from what I've seen so far, from the couple of weeks we've been together and had some meetings and some induction programs, that enthusiasm, it's really infectious. When you get people who are enthusiastic, it's really infectious. So I'm actually pretty excited. I'm pretty buoyed by what we've got on council. I think the community's got a huge amount of expectation as well. It's up to us to now deliver on that. It's all well and good for me to talk to you, Cherie, and say, hey, please trust us, and we'll restore that community confidence and community trust. But the community will judge us on our actions, and that's where we've got to be able to make sure we start delivering and delivering fairly quickly.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the chat, Matthew.
My pleasure.
Sounds really promising.
Anytime you want to talk,
I'm sure we'll catch up with you again soon.
Sorry, don't hesitate to contact me again if you need to talk about anything council related.
Will do. Thanks, Matthew.
All right, thanks, Cherie.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.